Okay, we're picking right up where we left off, taking a look now at the shading area of the Bevel and Emboss layer style effect. Now at the very top we have the lighting controls. These allow us to control where the light is coming from on our bevel. Please note that by default this is attached to the global light, so if you want to make changes to the global light at this time, make sure this is checked, and just move this around to change the angle and altitude of the light source. Alternatively, you could go into any other layer style that also utilizes the global light, such as a drop shadow, or you can go under the layer menu, jump down under layer style, and underneath this submenu, if it were to appear, which it can't because we currently have the layer style window open, you would see the global light option appear. So let's move back over here. It's pretty straightforward. You can just adjust this little tiny point inside your widget. Now this is kind of like controlling a light source on a dome, where the further you get to the edge, you're lowering the altitude of the light source, and then just by rotating or dragging this little point around the inside shape, you're changing the angle. And you see, like if we drag this up to the upper left corner, it does look like the light is coming from above and to the left of our shape. So pretty straightforward. Next, we have controls for the gloss contour. Now, this is just a standard contour window, which we've seen a few times. This is just controlling the shape of the gloss itself, not the shape of the bevel. That's something that will take place once we take a look at the contour checkbox, so that's something different. This is just controlling that area of transition that's used to give us the lighting effect itself. So, as I make this into kind of an S-curve, you see what we're doing is just controlling that area of effect from no gloss to full gloss. And if I start doing kind of zigzaggies just for effect, we can get kind of a chromey-like effect. So you can really have a lot of fun with that. Let's go ahead and cancel that out though, and we'll move down. Next we have the highlight and shadow areas. Now we can control the blend modes, the opacity, and the color of both our highlights and our shadows independently, which is extremely powerful when you think about it. So starting off with highlight, your default value is always going to be screen, which makes sense because it's a lighting effect, and screen is a great blend mode for giving the effect that something is being illuminated. But you can change this to any other blend mode that you like. For instance, we could switch this over to multiply and choose a darker color, and now it's like we have a different level of shadowing coming from above, which leads to almost kind of an anisotropic style effect. Alternatively, we can jump down to the shadow mode and we can change it to something as well. So let's go ahead and put the highlight back onto screen. We can take shadow mode and we could set this to, well, you can put that on screen as well and choose a dimmer color. Or we can just go ahead and set it to white, and then we can change the opacity. And in doing this, we can give the effect that this is being illuminated from multiple sides. So you can have all kinds of fun just by playing with those. Now I will go ahead and put this back on multiply and set the color back down to black. Now of course you can adjust the opacity on each one of those individually. So if you need a little less light, of course just pull down your opacity. You still have a little bit of a highlight up in here, but not too much of one. And of course you could blend down the shadows as well, or really make those dramatic. And what this does, this gives you the ability to control the type of surface that this seems to be made of. If it needs to be something that's very shiny, of course just increase your highlight opacity. If it needs to be something that is kind of a Lambert style shade, or something like chalk or rock that has very little specular highlight, you can turn that opacity down or all the way off, however you see fit. So that is a look at all those settings. Of course, at the very bottom, we can take any settings that we've created that we like, and we can make those the default from that point on, or we can choose to reset all of our settings back to their initial factory defaults. Generally, I find myself not using the Make Default button, but I will often use Reset to Default. So that is a rundown of the shading controls for a bevel and emboss, and that will wrap up this video. In the next video, we'll take a look at the special features of bevel contour and bevel texture. So I'll see you in that video.